Hey, Bogdan, the EdTech coach here, and in this video I will just show you a quick overview of the student interfacing Google Classroom when it comes to turning in assignments or just sending materials to the teachers. Now, just a heads up before I even dive into any demonstration, please, if you're a student or a parent and your student is using Google Classroom, do not email your teacher with materials. That will make things way more complicated both for you and for your teacher because they have to organize everything, they have to manually grade and add the grades into Classroom and so on and so forth. Instead, whatever work you want to submit to your teacher, do it via Classroom, and I'll show you how in this video, and that will speed things up a lot, as I said, both for you and for your teacher. Now let's dive right in and let's open Google Classroom. As you see, this is an overview of all the classes that my student account is enrolled in. And the first thing you'll notice is that you have a neat overview of the upcoming assignments. Now, here you will only see those assignments that have a due date. You might still have other assignments that your teacher did not add a due date for. So it's always better to check your either individual class, or the second thing you can do is you can check your to-do list. Why? Because in the to-do list, you'll see all of your assignments, including the ones that do not have a deadline. And also in your to-do list, you'll see that everything is split in three main categories. The missing part, and this is the assignments that had the due date, but you did not submit your work before that due date. Then you'll have the ones that have no due date. So these ones you can just go through them whenever you get to them. But you'll also see the ones that have a due date, and they will be then separated based on the dates in which they are due. So this is something that could actually help you organize your workflow. In the done section, of course, this is where you will see the assignments that you've already completed, and that's a good starting point. Now, let's go to one particular classroom. So I'll use this classroom as an example, and I want to show you how you can actually either submit different types of work or turn in your documents, or just let your teacher know that you've done what they've asked you to do. And we'll go through several different types of examples, right? So this is the classwork, and actually I'm in the wrong class. So when I go to my classwork section, once again, you see that I have 5 assignments, and I will go through each one of them and show you different ways of actually assigning or returning the assigned work to your teacher. So let's start with the reading assignment. In this case, this is an assignment where my teacher actually just tells me, hey, read this article before the next class, or just make sure you go to this material, or just make sure that you watch a video, and so on and so forth. So in this case, I don't actually have to submit any document to my teacher, and that's why in Google Classroom, the button that will basically help me mark this assignment as done says mark as done. So this is it. When I click on mark as done, your assignment, your teacher will know that you've done what they've asked you to, and that's it. You can go to the next assignment. Let's have another example. So I'll go to the math assignment. In the math assignment, this is an example where my teacher gives me a question in the form of an image, and I actually have to solve the question, but I need to attach a photo of my work. Now, what's really important to understand is that if your teacher does not give you a document for you in Classroom directly, you can always create one. So here, for example, you can go to add or create, and this is where I could create, for example, a Google Doc or a slide or Google Sheets or a drawing. And then I could attach this to my work, or I could attach a link to a YouTube video, for example, or another material. Or the other option is, so as I said, I could create a Google Doc, and then I could show my work in Google Doc, right? And then I could send this to my teacher. Once again, Classroom does the document handling for me. It created the document, and as you see, it already attached it. And also you'll notice that the button changed from mark as done to turn in. Why? Because now I have a document that I can turn in to my teacher. But just as well, I could just go to add or create, and I can just say, you know what, I want to upload a file, and that file could be a photo of my work. So in this case, I'll use this photo, which is actually a photo of my work. I will upload it, and this will attach it to my assignment. So it's that easy. So once again, please don't send this photo of your work via email. This makes things complicated for your teacher and for you as well on the long run. Just attach your photo right here in Classroom. When you're done, you can just hit turn in. This will send the photo to your teacher. They will have access to it. They can give you feedback on the photo, and you're done. Let's go to the next type of assignment and the next example. So let's say I have an assignment for which I actually I have a deadline, like in this case, right? And this is where I want to explain what the difference is between turning in before the deadline and after the deadline. So right now you'll see that my teacher gave me a copy of my own file. This is just an example of the file, right? But you see I have my name attached to it. I don't have to create any document here unless my teacher tells me to, or unless I want to add some extra work. But I do need to turn in my assignment when I'm done. Why? So I can tell my teacher that, hey, I've done my work, have a look at it. Now, what happens if the assignment does have a deadline, in this case, the 25th of April, right? It's due tomorrow actually, so you'll see that it does have a deadline, but you do not turn in your work. Well, your teacher will still have access to your document, they will still be able to grade it, but both in your classroom interface and in the teacher's interface, your assignment will be marked as late. So that's why it's always a good idea to turn in your work before the deadline so your assignment doesn't show up as late. Now, let's go to the next example of an assignment, right? Or the next example of turning in the assignment. So let's say I had an assignment, digital citizenship. And as you see, this is an example of an assignment in which I've actually already done the work. I've sent the work back to my teacher. The teacher gave me a grade, so I can actually read the feedback from my teacher and so on and so forth. And my teacher also left a comment. Hey, please check my comments and then of course, adjust your work according to my feedback, and then turn your work in so I can grade your work again, so I can update your work. Now, what should you do when your teacher sends the work back to you? Should you resubmit it? It depends a lot on what your teacher is asking you to. If that's the final grade for that project or for that assignment, you should not resubmit it. Why? Because you've basically done your part, you've done your job, you got your grade, it will be marked as grade in the Google Classroom, and you're done with it. If on the other hand, let's say your teacher tells you, hey, I gave you the first grade, I gave you feedback, now I'm sending the work back to you so you can improve it, so then I can update your grade, then yes, it's always a good idea after you make changes to your document to resubmit it. Why? Because this will once again tell your teacher that your work is ready to be checked and they can give you the new feedback. So keep that in mind, turn in your work before the deadline. If your teacher asks you to resubmit the work, so of course after you make some changes, resubmit it and you should be good to go. What happens though if, let's say, you submit your work and you realize, oops, I actually wanted to make some more changes to the document and I've turned it in too fast? Well, you can always click on unsubmit. This will take the work back, you can make the changes, and then when you're done, you've added the missing bits and pieces, you can resubmit it to your teacher. So these are different ways in which you can actually turn in work in Google Classroom. Once again, once you do that, if you go to the to-do list, you'll notice that the assignments that I've turned in or marked as done have disappeared from my to-do list. They will have shifted into the done list, and that's a neat way for me to keep track of what I still have to do. Once again, if I go to the classes homepage, I'll see the upcoming scheduled assignments also here, and you'll see that one of them disappear from here as well because I've marked it as done. So I hope this was useful to give you an overview of how you turn in work for your teacher in Google Classroom. And please, the final conclusion, do not email your teacher with files. Whatever types of files you need to attach to an assignment via Classroom. Other than that, everything you need to communicate with your peers and your teachers is in the Classroom interface. You can check my other video with describing how you can communicate with your peers and your teachers using Google Classroom. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. And I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bogdan Copil here, the EdTech Coach, over and out.